I feel sorrow for you, unfortunate viewer, because today marks the start of me making videos on Japanese visual novels for this series. Many of these visual novels have been translated and published for American audiences by Peach Princess, whom I assume named themselves that way so any Nintendo fanboy searching for Mario's damsel in distress will instead get an array of animated porn. As you could have probably known by this title, I'm looking at Tokimeki Check-In today, and it's the first visual novel I've ever played / read through because they honestly have never once in my life interested me. Even though these girls are drawn to perfection and would never reject me, I still prefer to be let down by real women and my hand. So will this game animate enough tits to warrant its rating, or will the stilted dialogue make me nod off before I can reach first base? Find out after the intro I just made for this series.
Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better.
You play as Takayuki, or going off how frequently the text boxes cut off his name, Takayuki, and he has just come home from university unemployed to work at the family business. I'm sure his sexual encounters at the university were made into another visual novel. Anyway, the Yamano Inn he's working at is a traditional Japanese inn, which means hot springs for babes to flock to for Takayuki's perving purposes, and it seems like a strictly enforced rule of 9 out of 10s being allowed at this inn, indicated by all the stunning babes staying there. Mind you, I don't think these women are beautiful, I'm just relaying what Takayuki thinks. I don't like my women 2D, hence why I hate A-cups. Takayuki got pretty lucky as his awkward, lazy ass, which I'm sure is meant to resonate with the core audience of visual novels, gets to be manager of the inn as his parents are occupied with the newer inn they had just purchased. Not that you would expect otherwise, the gameplay consists of clicking through the dialogue that pops up on screen. The problem is, it takes way too long after your mouse click for the dialogue to change, and it's only occasionally that you can click through quickly, but these moments are far too infrequent. Even less frequently occurring than the fast dialogue sections are the multiple choice options, which will help differentiate the different playthroughs you have of the game, and will significantly lag out the game after making a choice. I'd say in the 4 or 5 hours of playing this novel, I would have made around 16 choices in game, and many more out of the game, deciding whether or not to masturbate to the women on screen. There is a skip button above the dialogue box that will help you skip quicker to the branching path choices, but hey, I wanted to experience this game in full, mundane day-to-day procedures and all. Now, I'm going to talk about the characters because there's a small enough amount for me to do so. Takayuki is the sexual deviant who wants a part of him within every woman that comes through the hotel doors and absolutely hates manual labour, which is why he's fine with fucking due to his record speeds. His wimpy nature is why most conversations with the women occur, because he simply cannot walk away from them like a normal person on the job. He will also usually make the conversation uncomfortable by imagining what he'll do to them sexually instead of conversing with them. Yumi-san is the old man working at the inn well past his prime, probably because the attractive women keep him coming back, and basically runs the inn due to how incompetent Takayuki is. Seeing how he's the oldest person in the inn by a good half century, the only actions he'd be getting in bed is crying himself to sleep every night. Ayumi is a childhood friend of Takayuki who works as the inn's maid and is coincidentally the cover girl of the game. Like most maids in any Japanese media, she's shy and submissive and might as well be another rag at the inn for all the personality she shows and all the times she's used for work purposes. Makoto is the inn's chef and is as emotionally stable as a golf ball atop a toothpick. She's the type of person to Lorena Bob at you seconds after having sex and is the main reason you do work in this, as she bullies around every employee, Yumi-san included. Both of the female employees are sexually interested in you, but maybe that's so they can get a pay raise before ditching you for the secretly well-endowed Yumi-san. I only think Makoto has a soft spot for Takayuki because he's the only man simp enough to fuck her aggressive ass. Mai is the only guest currently at the inn at the start of the game, and is only at the inn to paint the surrounding views. Most of the times I met her, only the weather was brought up before she's reminded Takayuki is currently working, and any spark peters out because a conversationalist, he is not. Perhaps there's an ending to this game where you recreate the Titanic sketch scene with her. Kayoko is an enigma who, like most of the guests, arrives on the first day, and she's a supposedly beautiful enigma at that, although I couldn't tell these women apart based on how hot they are. Really, I barely knew anything about her due to our minimal interactions, but she goes from a seemingly hostile woman to having conversations with Takayuki that could barely be considered to be communicating with how nothing they are. Yuki, who is literally half the character Takayuki is, with how underdeveloped her character is and overdeveloped her breast jar, wants to be a famous busty idol. What this means is she wants to be a singer with a CD rack. I mean, a great rack to boot. Again, she's another person I barely interacted with, but while she was flirtatious, she seemed to fuck with you more than she wanted to fuck you. The terrible trio, nicknamed that by Takayuki, are 3 schoolgirls who are all 18, so wipe that sweat away from your brow. You can legally fuck anything that moves in this game. Nanami is the one who seemingly is always talking to you, as she's an energetic handful, not talking about her tits, like she's hyped up on Adderall all the time. She almost immediately makes a beeline for your pants after meeting you, and gets fairly jealous if you so much as breathe in another girl's direction. She is frequently found fighting with Natsuki, who seems like the stereotypical popular chick in any teen film, acting like she's above everyone, and is quite mean to you. It seems she has no interest in you until you make eyes for other women, so I'm sure that would be confusing for old Takayuki. The odd one out in the bunch is Kumi, as she is often the one who breaks the other two up from fighting, and is friendly towards you. While she is nice and all, she's like that girl with a crazy mother, and whether you can put up with the terrible people anchored to her is up to you. The last 2 people to arrive are Misato and Kiko, who show up on the second day, and their enormous tits make up for their lack of personality. Misato berates you for every little thing you do, including staring at her mounds. How shocking, I know, and is generally a cunt to everyone around her, as she thinks she is better than them. Polar opposite in personality but not body type, Kiko is a nerd that will speak at you in different languages and generally apologize for Misato's actions until Misato turns around and makes her apologize for doing that. The novel frequently makes you wonder if a room is the only thing they share, and did I mention they go to university, because I sure didn't notice them. If you aren't edging at the thought of an anime girl talking to you, then this isn't for you, because it's boring as hell, as you live out 3 days working at the inn. Certainly in my playthrough you'd barely think that this was an adults only game due to how little sexual things occur during it. Quite a bit of the dialogue between Takayuki and the girls is predictable, as a fair few chunks of talking get repeated in the playthrough. There is the occasional Japanese line of voice acting which I wish Peach Princess had gone all out and provided us with some unprofessional English voice actors to laugh at. There was a problem involving who out of the terrible trio played table tennis with me, but all that had to be done is tell them to play doubles instead of singling out one of them. Now, I'm sure you're sitting there wondering which of the lovely girls I mentioned was slept with. I started a porn business with Yumi-chan. No word of a lie. You find out he's been videotaping the women with hidden cameras, and when you confront him about it, he offers you the chance to be a porn star who sleeps with the inn's patrons. I'ma be honest, I had a bit of a chuckle at this exchange. It skips ahead a few years where your porn business is booming and keeping the inn from going under like the others around the area. You are discussing the need to film a new series with Yumi-chan when a Yumi walks in, where it turns out she's in on this, and you start to have sex with her for a new video. So in the end, you get a Yumi, but only because you convince her that it's for the business. That's cold. Tokimeki Check-In received an adults only rating, and strong sexual content was the reason cited. Whilst in my playthrough I didn't see much in terms of sex, only a breast from Yumi-chan's video, when looking online at the sex scene shown with the other characters, this content descriptor would be warranted. I'll add use of alcohol and use of tobacco into this, as the patrons get drunk every night, and Yumi-chan lit up a dart when I was confronting him about the videotaping. There are instances of language and violence, both of which usually stem from Takayuki's perving. These content descriptors I added wouldn't be enough for this novel to earn its rating, so let's look at whether its strong sexual content would. Whilst there is intercourse within this, it is beneath quite a bit of playtime to get to it. Most instances of penetration I saw seem to be covered by the text box, and above all this is just animated stills of sex. Even though I would be pushing it, I believe that Tokimeki Check-In doesn't deserve its rating. Phew, it's finally over. Just letting you know I only made this to attract the weebs to my channel. See you next time. I won't be playing a visual novel in the meantime.